Hello again, this is Dr. Lindsay. And in this module, we're going over stabilization policy, and particularly fiscal policy. And the outline here is at first we'll take a look at the business cycle and look at it in terms of explained by the Keynesian model. So in the business cycle, we've got these ups and downs, peaks and troughs. And we can look at wherever we are in the business cycle is essentially an equilibrium between aggregate demand and aggregate supply. And both of them are bouncing around. Aggregate supply is bouncing around, aggregate demand is bouncing around. And so these shocks, we can look at this as shocks to the economy, and it's particularly the aggregate demand curve that bounces around. It seems to cause the changes in output or recessions. So we'll look at these shocks to the economy in terms of the Keynesian model. Now, in order to try to stabilize the economy from these aggregate demand shocks or maybe aggregate supply shocks, the government has really two things that they can do to try to stabilize things or to get us out of a recession or depression. Two types of policies. One is fiscal policy, and the other is monetary policy. Both of those things can help stabilize the economy and get us out of a recession. So if we're in a recession, the question is, would we want to do something about it? Or would we want to just let the economy get out of the recession all by itself? The thinking of 100 years ago was let the economy get out of it all by itself. The thinking today is, well, we need to step in and try to do something about it. And most people agree with that if there is a recession or depression, we would like the government to step in and do something about it. And here's the tools that we'll go through as to what they have at their disposal to get out of a recession or depression. As I say, in general terms, there's fiscal policy and there's monetary policy. There was a big debate years ago about which one was better. People that supported monetary policy to get us out of a recession and others that supported fiscal policy. Big debate. Today, the debate is over. Monetary policy won out. That is the preferred way to stabilize the economy. Although fiscal policy is used sometimes too, as has been used in the last two recessions. So this module, we're going to be talking mainly about fiscal policy. In another module, we'll be talking about monetary policy and show how they work, especially in terms of this Keynesian aggregate demand, aggregate supply model. So first we'll go through what an output gap is, and that is just the difference between what GDP is and what potential GDP is. If there's a gap in our output from the economy, it can be positive or negative. So if we're in a recession, that would be referred to as a negative output gap. And so if we have this negative output gap and we want to do something about it, we can use fiscal policy. But what are the effects in the short run and the long run, and are they different? So we'll go through both of them. What happens when you use fiscal policy in the short run? And what happens if you use fiscal policy in the long run?